Hallelujah.
Oops, except Quantum left. Hey, everyone. We are waiting a couple more minutes for people to join in before I roll the intro graphic. But the band's all back together. And yeah, cheers. Well, as well. Crack this open. Happy soon-to-be New Year. This is a sour from Branch and Blade. It's a nice. It's funny because I tend to be more of like a cocktail and things like spirits kind of person these days, but it just doesn't work to like here's some amber liquor to show off on it just doesn't work as well. A nice can with artwork kind of tends to work.
There you go.
So that tastes like a smoothie. Have sour beers made it outside of the US very much?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I'm terribly lagging.
Yeah, I think you're fine. I mean, you could see a little bit of lag. It happens here or there. Just make sure your connection's good. Yeah, so sour beers, I do like them a lot. However, I don't like to call them beers because they don't taste like beer. They taste like a smoothie. It's almost more like a cider or a juice, but it's what we had in the fridge. So cheers.
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 And let me just see. Lots of people in the YouTube live chat. Of course, Splowik, Ash, and a few other people. And of course, at the very top, you have some rando saying "win 0." So there's always a troll. There's always a troll popping up here and there, you know.
Ash is watching, but he's not on the stream. What's up with that? Wasn't invited?
He can come on if he wants.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you're representing. Obviously, I have.
Oh yeah, Ash, get over here.
If you want to be on, Ash, you can be on. I just, it's going to be a big group stream, so a lot of people talking over each other, so you can't get too crazy.
True.
All right, about a couple more minutes. Just wait till the last people. Actually, I should start pinging everyone. Say, here, we're live.
I'm trying to figure out why my connection dropped so badly when you switched it live.
I don't know, because it should not have any actual difference.
Looks okay now.
Yeah, it should have.
As soon as you said I'm switching live, everything slowed down.
So we're seeing you perfectly, Sam.
Yeah, but Ryan disappeared.
I mean, that's old news. Let the poor man have his retirement.
Are you being metaphorical? Or?
I'm just being funny. Yeah, but I announced it to everyone. But also, like, Jitsy's a little weird with like people coming in and out and stuff like that, connection things. It is what it is. I like it. Usually works more than well enough, and it should be fine. But as always, feel free to jump into the live chat to talk to people if like the camera is not working for you too well or whatever. All right, this is probably pretty good. I guess Ryan has to get his thing back on, but that's fine. In the meantime, Great Wolf asks, "Pasta not on?" Here's the thing. Listen, if all your favorite Dashy people, like what, no one asked about Kanuker or Pozo, no one asked about Agnew T. Pickens, no one asked about so many other people. It'd be so rude. I can't have everyone on. I want Marina on too. She's always great, but I just can't have everyone on. That's for the after party, which will happen. Anyway, enough stalling. Yeah, let's hit the intro. So, hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to episode 200 of the Dash Podcast. Cheers, everyone.
Yeah. Made it so far.
Yeah, 200 so far. So long time ago, in I think 2017, maybe 2018, somewhere in there, I was with a Dash Fun organization called Dash Force, and during that time, I went on a popular radio station called Free Talk Live to talk about stuff, and then ended up having a little bit of a back and forth with some like Monero troll called in, of course, because that was the day back when that used to happen all the time, and some other people from Dash Force and other Dash people called in as well to give their counter opinions. And then, so one of the three partners, Brian of Dash Force, was like, "Oh, that's fun. We should do this more often." And so then we're like, "All right, let's start our own." So we started the Dash podcast on the Dash News channel. Myself, Mark Mason, and Brian Mastermind, and we did that weekly, like an hour-long live show weekly for years, I think. And then it was somewhere like episode 80 something or whatever. Dash Force was sunsetted, or however you say that. And I tried to get Mark to give me the credentials to keep using the YouTube channel, and he never did. And I still bummed out about that. So I was like, well, I'll start my own channel. And so this was like the first thing on the other channel was just my own channel, which I now do a lot of stuff with, but was initially just to have a venue to start doing the Dash podcast again. And so 100 episodes later, it's kind of migrated to a monthly thing. Yeah, here we are. So thanks everyone for being here. Just want to point out, you can go to cointr.ee/thedesertlegs and leave a little super chat there in the Christmas spirit or the New Year spirit or whatever. I will say I have heard that the CoinTree chat isn't really working super well. So if you do that, you can go complain in the actual YouTube live chat. Say, hey, I sent you a super chat, but just type it there, and then I'll take your word for it and just read it out. If you have one of my NFTs, obviously you can go to the my Discord channel under the Dash podcast thing and just leave in little comments. And I know a couple of you in the live chat do. So if you wanted to answer, that's where you go. So, which random freebie for Agnew Pickens says, Brian too busy playing with his Lambo. Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. So let's start off with a little yearly recap, or let's start out with like the state of affairs. The number one question on everyone's minds is two 3-letter words.
Evo.
When Evo.
It's a well,
When-
I guess when
You've got to see that one coming.
When
Well,
is
it's
actually
2 steps ahead of you, Sam.
yeah, so when is actually a 4-letter word, but the misspelled when is 3. So yeah. How's that how's it coming along?
So I want to answer as best as I can. The problem is that for me, all of you are completely breaking up. So I only hear like what and Evo. So I'm gonna try to reconnect very quickly. Okay.
Okay, that's a nice.
You asked when Evo to jump off.
It's perfect. Perfect. Well,
That couldn't have been rehearsed better.
could have been
Joel. That
rehearsed
was
better.
perfect.
Okay, well let's go to
There it
let's skip to the number 2 question, which is when DashDirect. See, it just keeps rolling downhill from there.
I think I'm having a choppy connection, guys. I'm gonna.
Yeah, so for the I'll give the quick little recap on the thing, and then Marshall could jump in and give a little bit more of the details. But so DashDirect is one of Ionia's, I guess, the first big crypto app thing that basically lets you spend crypto just about anywhere. And yeah, it's been quite useful for the gift card solution. At some point, a prepaid instantly provisioned and reloadable Visa or MasterCard got created, and it worked great until people got spooked, and then it got sunset for a variety of reasons, right? But it's coming back, and it has been coming back along with a couple of variations on the program to hopefully expand past U.S. only and to kind of affect the world. And so that was like, oh, it's coming back, and then it's like, when? I don't know, maybe this year. Oh, what's going on? And like, there's all that hype and stuff. And so where are we at now, Marshall? How's it going?
Yeah, absolutely. So by way of background, February we launched the beta, February 2022. It was using.
Hello again.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, hold off on the when Evo for a second, Sam. Let me let Marshall finish.
I'm in the hot seat for the moment, Sam.
Yes.
So you can be back in the hot seat very quickly. I'll be brief. So the program ran as a beta from February until June. On June 4th, we received a demand from the bank that was issuing the cards to cease and desist the program due to, I believe, really just lack of proper understanding on their part. And so we ended up not having a program through the last half of the year for a card program. But we are relaunching, and we're relaunching in 2023 to be much more resilient. So one of the things that we did is we talked to all of the card networks themselves, and we actually partnered with the card networks rather than just working with a bank that issues the cards. So this gives us the ability to work with multiple banks simultaneously and run the same program with redundant bank partners. And then we are, of course, also, as you mentioned, Joel, launching globally. So we have one global card program. I can actually show you what the cards do and how they work today, if that's of interest to people. Yeah. Sam and a couple of others have been kind enough to do some testing for me with them. So I've got some results on that too. The timing, unfortunately, with FTX and BlockFi and all the, cluster that 2022 has brought us with these centralized services, what's really happened is the banks are really spending more time in due diligence and really doing more thorough legal and regulatory analysis on card programs that involve crypto in any way. And so what we've done is we've gotten 2 opinion letters from outside counsel from a global law firm that specializes in fintech, and they've written us 2 letters that state that we are, number 1, our program is compliant with all of FinCEN's rules and regulations, and number 2, per FinCEN, we are not classified as an MSB. This is really important because the question arose of whether we would need money transmission licenses and whether we'd be considered a money services business. So we now have those 2 opinions supporting our position, and we've been using that to help bolster the banks and get them further along. The second of those opinion letters we received just this week, and so there's still some time left before the banks, finish their review. So we're looking at Q2 to be realistic for getting bank approval. We're building the technology ahead of that, though. So we're going to be able to launch as soon as we get those bank approvals.
And is that for the U.S. program, or is that the international one, or is that kind of both? Because I hear they're on separate timelines.
They are, yeah, that's a great point. So we actually have 3 programs. There's only 2 that are really relevant to Dash because our focus is on privacy, and so we don't require KYC on those 2 programs. One of them is the global program. That one, the technology is there. We just have to get the bank approval, but they are further along in that analysis, and they had fewer questions. So I think we can get that one done in Q1. But it does have an inferior user experience. We don't have full control over the user experience. So the bank gives us a different way of interacting with the card. So the other program that I was mentioning for Q2 approval, there's multiple banks. And that program is what we refer to as the Visa Rewards Plus, which allows the U.S. users, any user, it doesn't matter where they're located, but to be used anywhere in the U.S. But that one has a really slick user experience. We control the whole, because we receive the card tokens by API, so we can put it into our user experience. So.
Yeah. So what I hear, one of the things that was almost magic about the previous card thing was the fact that it was like reloadable. And I get rumored that that's not really going to happen anymore. And first off, is that correct for the non-KYC stuff?
That's a great question. So as of right now, our opinion letters support a non-reloadable card within FinCEN, not to get too in the weeds, but within FinCEN guidance on what they call CIP, or Customer Information Program requirements, which basically you think of as KYC, AML, SAR, OFAC. Within those guidelines, there's a statement that the program qualifies as long as it's not reloadable from a non-depository source. And so the question is Ionia's account at the financial institution where we're actually funding the cards from, would FinCEN view that as a depository source, or would they follow that through and collapse the transaction and say the funds were coming from the Dash wallet and therefore that's a non-depository source? So that's still a point of contention. So for now, it's planned to launch as a non-reloadable to make sure that it's 100% compliant and resilient against inquiry. But I do believe we can try to go to FinCEN for like a no action letter and try to get them to opine on, whether that's considered a depository source.
Yeah, and so was this just not? It is kind of like not on the radar for the first program, and then when it became a problem, it's like I had no idea this would be a problem, and now it turned out to be.
Yeah, no, we always knew what FinCEN's guidance is. I personally take the view that it's a depository source. It's our funds in a bank account at our bank partner that's loading the card. We are not loading crypto onto the card. We're not exchanging funds on behalf of the user for USD and then putting it on. It is literally two separate transactions, and it's always funded by our account. But with all the scrutiny around crypto right now, that's a higher risk for a bank to kind of side with us on that position. So we're working through that through other methods.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty, good. Sounds like a good little future. One thing, when the original DashDirect card launched, it was kind of like a unicorn in that, like, I had previously there Quantum raises his hand really quick. Is this about the card, or is it about the Evo?
No, it's more of forgive my ignorance, but what is a depository source?
Oh,
what is the definition of that?
Yeah, a depository source basically means a bank account, right? And a non-depository source would be something like cash that you load onto a card at a 7-Eleven store, or cryptocurrency, or some other source of funds that's not coming from a bank account. And so the question is, are they looking at our bank account as the source, which is obviously depository, or are they going to collapse the two transactions and say it really came from the Dash wallet? That's the question.
My sole question around this was, it has to be a bank account, right? An identity would not count.
Yeah, it would definitely. Yeah, right. So you're thinking along the lines of Evo.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah. So it would have to be sitting with an FDIC insured, regulated bank.
Okay.
It would have to be the source of funds. I like the way you're thinking, though. Like there are lots of ways that we can all, as part of the Dash community, get creative and figure out, ways that we can, enhance the user experience, the accessibility of Dash. And that's one of the things that I'm really working on this year is next year rather, I should say, how do we get Dash to be more accessible? In absence of the bit license, that's something we can talk about today as well. But, how do we get it, to be really available to everybody and for everyone to understand the benefits of it?
Yeah. So just to wrap up on that little thought, and we get everything else in, I had previously bought Visa gift cards online with crypto. This is and my life living on crypto today is just so much better than it was when I started, like in 2015, 2016. Or literally getting those prepaid ones you buy at the grocery store, mailed to me. And it was just clunky and terrible, and I hated it. And DashDirect was the first one that was like, this is smooth, this works. Since then, there's a couple of competitors that have kind of sort of popped up here and there. Not any good ones, although if there are any, they could tide me over until you relaunch. Let me know, because there's the Bitcoin company and Pay with Moon. I think Pay with Moon is the big one. And unfortunately, Bitcoin and Lightning only, unless you want to use your Coinbase wallet, which why? And 250 limit or something, and some other stuff. And it just seems almost like DashDirect is the one that got everyone to kind of figure this out. And now there's Cake Pay, which is a Monero wallet, or mostly Monero, but Litecoin, Bitcoin stuff too. No. So Cake Labs owns two wallets that they created. They have Cake Wallet, which is Bitcoin, XMR, Litecoin, and Haven. And then they have Monero.com wallet, which is just Monero. According to their website, cakelabs.com, they have about 250,000 users on Cake Wallet, about 10,000 on Monero.com wallet. They are one of our clients. They have two different products that are kind of what you're alluding to. They have the one integrated to the Cake Wallet itself and the Monero.com wallet. That uses Ionia for digital gift cards. That is where we will launch card programs, Visa programs for them, as well as
kind of all of our other products that they want to utilize. They also have a website integration to a gift card vendor that has a Visa gift card on there. We actually have a partnership with the same vendor, but unfortunately that card requires you to enter your first name, last name, home address, phone number, email address, in order to actually activate the card on receipt. And so that's why we don't use that one. We use a different vendor for our global card program. So this is a global card program for CakePay, and it's actually a really great card if you don't mind putting that information in. And you didn't hear it from me, but I don't know that they're actually KYCing the information, but rather just collecting it. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a slippery slope. But also, for anyone who's ever used CakePay or Edge or some of these other like Ionia products, it does appear that the DashDirect discount is still the superior one, which is always something I'm like cool with. But so basically, it seems like there's a lot. Just it's kind of like when there's no good bill pay options in the U.S. They kept on getting like shut down. Then BitRefill came out with one, and it was great until they unfortunately had to shut it down. But now there's another one. There's some other unfortunately doesn't take Dash. I'm working on that though, and it just the whole thing is just kind of like moving over and over and over. But I do think that like DashDirect is one of the big selling points of being able to use Dash as real world money, especially once you have like the in-wallet integrations and the in-wallet staking, as I'm sure we'll get to in just a little bit. And yeah, very excited to see that.
And Joel, I'm honored to be part of your 200th podcast, and I'm honored to work with each of you. But I in particular have been able to live mostly on crypto because of kind of our discussions and kind of some of the things that you've given me tips on, and some of the tools that we've built, as well as CrowdNode and using the Dash wallet. I mean, you can live unbanked today and have access to pretty much all financial services. Like you said, bill pay is still a struggle, but it's getting there. And I think in 2023, we're going to have not just the ability, but we're going to have a lot of interest from non-crypto enthusiasts today who just want to live in a world that's more private and less permissioned. So.
And on that note, I did mention at the end of the last podcast, and when it's less ghetto looking, I'll reveal it. But on my own website, I just this week started a filterable table of crypto services. And so, for example, bill pay service, as far as which country they support and which coins do they support. So you can just type into the search bar, Dash Europe, and you find everywhere in Europe you can pay your utility bills and stuff with Dash. And then I'll do for like the gift card type stuff, and then for others. So you could just go to one page, be like, I don't know how I can live on crypto. No matter where you are, you go to one page and you can just see all the options, update it constantly, and then make it even easier. So
very cool.
This is 2023. This is the year. I kind of predicted, and I say this a lot so that if I'm wrong, everyone knows I'm wrong. I'm not wrong in silence. That like 2025, like the next bull market peak kind of thing, is going to be the year of like early majority adoption, like not mass, but like you'll start to see people paying crypto. It won't be that weird to like, oh, I came across a guy today who was buying something with crypto. And, stores that you would otherwise never hear of would just be like, oh, they take it? Oh, okay. Like you actually get to where it's not that weird to be like me or a lot of people like living on crypto, where it could be like, if you say, oh, I have a friend that lives off of crypto, it's not going to be like, really? It's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I've heard that they're out there. So
yeah,
25, that's the prediction.
25 is when that starts to happen in the developed world. So I say that because we're so close already today. And I know quite a few people living unbanked off of crypto now. I didn't used to, but now I know a few. Like I could actually get a podcast together of more people than are in here right now, of just people I personally know who are living unbanked off crypto. So soon, very soon. Sam, you want to tell us when Evo's happening?
You just said the word soon.
Okay. Yeah.
But he also said 25.
I think that Oh, no, 2025. That's too quick. I actually
God.
did prepare something. Well, let me first answer the question as best I can, and then I have prepared a little thing for like the year in review, like our tech year in review.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe last 5 minutes. I'll give a quick little presentation on
Yeah.
it if you guys don't.
Whenever it's screen share o'clock, just let me know and we'll start everyone's screen sharing stuff.
Okay. Well, so the first question is when Evo. So in November, like early November, we kind of had a meeting and we were like, no, we are releasing this year the feature complete version.
Mm-hmm.
And then well, we failed. It's December 31st, and there's no more time in this year. Basically, what came up is like, okay, there's, for example, there's this feature that we all thought was working, and then there's a bug in it. We were going to solve the bugs later, but if you see a bug, you need to solve it, and sometimes those things just were a lot harder to do. So we're close. We kind of are feature complete in TenderDash, and we're feature complete in GroveDB, so our storage and our consensus engine. But we're sadly, well, actually, I'll get into like the weeds, but the answer of like when are we feature complete right now, I think it's going to be like about 2 weeks from now, 2 to 3 weeks from now, and then we have a testing phase, and the testing phase is going to last probably 2 months. It's always going to last 2 months whenever we started, and during that testing phase, we're going to ask our community to test things.
I'll test
as well as us.
the ever-loving shit out of it.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, this is like the period that I'm looking forward to the most, because your goal is to break it. Your goal, and I'm sure XKCD is going to love this period.
Well, as I'm sure our friends over at CrowdNode know, I'm good at finding little UX problems and bugs and just things to complain about. So I will help you.
No comment.
Well, the UX is not. The UX is not well. So the UX was kind of done like almost a year or two ago with DashPay, right? If we think about the DashPay product, but not so much the and DashPay is just one dApp of platform. But for platform itself, well, there's not so much a user experience. It's more what the devs can do with it later. But so I'll do a quick year in review, just because even though we didn't make the feature complete this year.
Mm-hmm.
This year was so amazing, and I kind of, want to share with like all we accomplished in basically just 1 year.
All right, so is it presentation time?
Yeah, it's like quick. It's only 3 slides.
So hit the screen share, and then I'll switch the screen to that.
Okay, let's see.
You know how to do it, right? It's the third button from the left.
This one?
Yeah, there we go.
Got it? So this is a DCT year
Is that
review,
Jenna
and it's
Sparks'
only for
Twitter account? Oh, sorry. Keep going.
What, do you see more?
No, I'm just being funny. Brenna Sparks was the name anyway. I forgot the name. Oh, anyway.
Who's that? I have no idea who that is. Anyway.
If you're in the Discord in the last couple of days, you know. But if not, it's fine. Anyway, just let's go to this before I get myself in trouble.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to shit on the system that we had before, but I'm going to anyways.
Good for you.
I couldn't help myself. Basically, where we were, when like a year and a half ago, we did not have many developers, and we had a lot of problems. And so first we needed to get the developers, and I would say that mostly happened in the second half of 2021. We hired like crazy. We pretty much more than doubled our developer count, like people actually coding. And then basically this is where we were on December 31st or December 30th last year. Most of platform was written in JavaScript. Super slow, very fickle, tons of bugs. We had decided, I think some people might remember, about a year, 2 months ago, that we were going to switch that to Rust. What else what were the other problems? We had a 2-block consensus mechanism, so that could not work for platform. basically you need same block execution to be able to prove the state. Otherwise, you basically need to keep a state of 2 blocks, and it's just not possible. Well, anything is possible, right? Well, maybe not anything, but it's not a good idea. Our storage solution used 4 instances of the same database. I don't really have any comment here. Some people would argue, well, it was a proof of concept. Yeah, no, you can't do that. You can't release with that. I don't even know how. I don't know. There was no comprehensive proof system, and we had a very limited fee system. So honestly, it was not a very good state. And where we are now, so most of platform was written in JavaScript. Now most of platform is written in Rust. The brains is called the protocol section. That is going to be transferred over from the JavaScript version to the Rust version. The Rust version is kind of done. Maybe there's still a little things that, maybe a week more work there. I was told early this week that it would be done this week, but I'm not completely sure where people ended this today. But then it just needs to be migrated from the JavaScript version to the Rust version. So the brains of DPP now written in Rust. All new features in the drive section are in Rust. Our consensus is in Go, and our storage is in Rust. So, and when you actually look online, for people who don't know, Rust is just kind of amazing in terms of it's probably like 10 times faster than JavaScript. Has very few bugs associated to it. You just don't get into the same problems. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here is kind of the stuff that just needed to be fixed. It should never really have happened that way, but it did. And you don't have a choice. I mean, I did not have a choice. When I see the project going on for like 10 more years, 20 more years, 30 more years, or forever, you have to have the right foundation. And we did not have the right foundation. And this was presented, we made a presentation about JavaScript. So then the second big one was the 2-block consensus mechanism. I'm happy to say we now have same block execution, which not only speeds up everything in platform, but also makes the system work. The storage solution is now feature complete, and it's super efficient and super fast. GroveDB is written on top of RocksDB. And yeah, that's done. I mean, I'm very proud of it, and I'm gonna put a little accent on that next. As I said, we didn't have a comprehensive proof system. Now we have a proof system. It can prove secondary indexes. It can do tons of cool stuff. It uses efficient references to basically, you can link between different tables. It's just very powerful. And basically, you can prove most of your queries in state. There's nothing really out there that does this. In fact, I'll talk about it right afterwards. And we didn't have a working fee system. That took a lot of time this year. And without a working fee system, well, you can break these systems. There's a lot of other stuff. These are the big items. But now we also have something called sum trees, where there's a complete protection against inflationary bugs. So there's basically no possibility of having inflationary bugs in platform, or I don't see how. And there's just a lot of extra stuff that's just not even mentioned here. So much happened. And I was just talking with one of the developers yesterday. If you put me in a time machine and I went back a year, there is no way I would do this again.
You'd do it again?
I would not do it again. This was intense.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Because I know how much our community needs this out, and I know what's needed to get done. and we don't have a choice. It's either that or we give up. And giving up really wasn't the option. Though if I had to do it again, there are limits to what a human being can handle. Okay, so yeah, like GroveDB, I'm not going to go through every feature, but there is nothing else out there. We went through maybe 15 different other databases. Here are four other ones that kind of give some of the same features, but there's just nothing that really existed. So, we even like inside when you do any operation in GroveDB, it tells you how many seeks you did on database. It tells you how many bytes you wrote. It tells you every little thing, and it reports it so you can have like perfect fee structure. And that fee structure is completely, it's there are probably 500 tests around it. I mean, we're in a good state there. So now, basically, we look to the future. What is 2023? Well, the first thing is, we're going to release
It's tomorrow
Evolution.
for you. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's in 19 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's coming in 2023? Well, we also had the vote on the high performance masternodes, which the 4K solution won very handily. So we don't even have to do a second round of voting there, which was a massive relief, honestly. And that's going to be coming very soon. We're going to release the platform Evolution release to mainnet. That will be the first release, which comes with DashPay. So DashPay has the ability, to send between contacts. You have contact requests. It's a much more user-friendly experience. What is very interesting about DashPay compared to all the competitors, I've said this many times, is that when you send to your friend, nobody else knows it. In a lot of other systems, everybody knows you send money from one person to another. In a decentralized system, it's very hard to hide that information, but DashPay hides that information. We're also adding NFT support, which is really low-hanging fruit, fungible token support, and fungible tokens even in the same sum tree mechanism that makes it impossible for there to be inflationary bugs on your fungible tokens. So I think people are really, really going to like that. So you can literally query at any time. Like, it's a very simple query. You just ask for the root of a specific tree, and it tells you, okay, there are this much USD asterisk, whatever, USDT, USDC, or whatever stable coin or whatever token is in platform. Yeah, so I think that will be a big selling feature for anybody who wants to use it. I think if we could really summarize 2022 was, let's throw away the bad stuff. Let's get the right tech in place that will propel us into the future.
Excellent.
Now we're in the
now we're in the future.
It's happening. we are compared to before.
Yeah.
It feels really good. It really does. Like, I know, like, right now we're in a bear market. But like, I personally set off to do some things, and the fact that, well, it's not yet out, obviously, but the fact that it all works, the system works, and it's coming out soon. Even, I don't know the future, right? It could be a whole dud. People might not like it. I don't see that happening, but anything is possible, right? Well, at least it's out. It will be coming out,
Yeah,
So-
and obviously that's going to be a great catalyst for people's renewed faith in the project to see delivering something cool, even if no one likes it, which I don't see. Again, I don't see that as a thing, but also like the shown ability to deliver in the future. Because even if it ends up being like a dud that people just like, oh, it's like a fancy way of doing usernames kind of thing. It's like took forever. I'm talking worst case, by the way. Even if it was that, at least it's like, well, they built this whole thing. what else can they build? How about we like hammer down privacy improvements? How about we do other stuff? How about we et cetera, et cetera. But it sounds good. I only personally have one question on the whole 2023 thing. So which is NFT support, right? So when you're talking about NFTs, because I do use NFTs, and I do actually have some Dash NFTs, although they're not on Dash, sadly. They have to be at Polygon because the world is tragic. But first off, will they be able to be transferable?
Between blockchains?
No, between users.
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, that's part of NFT support.
Yeah, and
like,
then
so
you want to just break down like what the NFT support could entail, as far as you know?
So like right now, you can write a contract for NFT support on release. We have these things called like really low hanging fruit, right? Like one of them is transfer of NFT of documents between identities. And this basically just means like I sell another identity my document. It's a very easy feature. I imagine it would not take somebody more than a week to write out because it's very simple. But the question is, where do we put the bar for our release? We could have like more and more stuff. We might like slip it in into the first release. It's just that I don't want to make any promises. We don't know how long the testing is going to happen. Like, let's imagine that we go into testing and there are absolutely no issues, which is very possible. I mean, we have thousands of unit tests right now. It could be that everything is magical and it works. And then we're like, okay, well, let's just do this like little thing here, little thing there, and give a lot of use cases for our users. It also might happen that I'm just like, have one too many beers on a Saturday night and be like, I want to code up NFT support. It's happening tonight. That's happened before.
Yeah.
I wake up on a Sunday. What?
Get this man another beer. Let's do it.
Yeah. Is that all you need? Is like lock him in his room with a lot of alcohol, and then before you know it, everything gets made.
So, funny story. 2 days ago, there somebody had a feature that was needed that we had not thought of, and it was really, really hard. And I just was like, oh no, I couldn't see any, since I knew this code very well and nobody else really knew it very well. I knew that I needed to do it if we were going to have it. If we were not going to have that feature, then it was causing a lot of problems. So basically, I started at 6 p.m. and I went to like 8 a.m.
Nice.
on this. And then at 8 a.m., I was like, pull request, 2,400 lines. You guys can check the pull request.
Well, I mean,
that's impressive.
As long as you manage to keep up your health and sustainability, pulling those miracle moves off once in a while is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's also fun. For some people, this would be very terrible work or something, but for me, I enjoy it. It's like Sudoku puzzles. Some people like them, some people don't. Figuring out problems that nobody really else can figure out. I actually kind of have pride. Maybe it's the beer talking, but it's nice.
Ooh, I heard clink clinks. Who wants to speak? Marshall wants to speak. Are we ending the presentation now?
Yeah, I was just, the last one was we're going to continue Dash Pay features. So the first version of the Dash Pay is very good for you and your friends. It doesn't work very well at merchants. And that's because you have the type of connection that you create between two identities is a end-to-end connection, kind of like I have many addresses for you and you have many addresses for me. And for a merchant that would have hundreds of thousands of contacts, they would need they would not work very well with that many addresses. So what we need to do is have a different mechanism for merchants that have thousands of people or tens of thousands or millions of people that pay them.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we stop the screen share and let's get Marshall's question in.
Yeah. So first of all, great job. I mean, I know it's probably been hell for you this year getting all that done, but not only getting so much done, but doing it in a budget constrained environment is quite an accomplishment. So thank you for that. As a member of the community, I really appreciate all the tireless work you and your team put in for that. For those who might not know as much about Evo, when you say feature complete, over the years, I think the set of features envisioned for Evo has probably changed quite a lot. So can you give us just, and you're so technical, this might be challenging for you, Sam, but for somebody who may not be technical, how would you describe the features that are not the low-hanging fruit and not the future-looking, but the feature complete portion of Evo for 2023? What can somebody expect from Dash Core Group?
So there are two parts to that answer. The first part is what dApps are we releasing? What is DCG releasing as dApps? So for DCG, we really only have 1 or 2 dApps that we're releasing at release, which is the DashPay dApp, which uses the DashPay contract. We also have a second dApp that is for our thumbnail server, which basically allows people inside the DashPay dApp to have avatars, and we have like a whole system that even uses, if I'm not mistaken, I think the feature is there that uses AI to like blur out NSFW images on your phone. If you're afraid, I think you can disable the feature. I'm not completely sure there. So there are the dApps, and then there are the capabilities of platform. And that's where things are a lot more interesting. What can platform do that nobody else can do? Well, the answer there is that it's very mobile friendly, meaning that you can query information and you get back a very succinct proof that your information is correct. And this is hard to explain why this is so important, because in most blockchain systems, you don't actually, even though with smart contracts, the data is processed in a decentralized way, you often have a central party that you have to, like if you are on a phone, you go to for the information. In our system, there is no central party where you go to for the information. Every every high performance masternode is one of the targets of your request, and basically you can just ask anything to it. So for example, let's imagine a dApp, right, that had all of Wikipedia on it. You could tie that into your phone and ask an information, and you would get a proof that whatever the system had as data for anything that you asked it is 100% true. There's no potential of a man in the middle problem. The data is on the blockchain, was not tampered with. So the possibilities for Web3 are pretty high. To give concrete examples, you can think of supply chains where you want to prove, like in a supply chain system where 2 parties are interacting, where does the data live, on one party system or the other party system? They probably both have a check of the same data, redundant. And then what happens if one system says something was delivered but the other person didn't receive it? Well, here you can have like a global system that everybody can trust, and so there's just like a lot of possibilities that where this system would be better than a Web 2.0, would be better than other blockchain Web 3.0. And once the phase of getting it out is done, then the phase of, okay, now what can we build on top of it will be done. I'm hopeful by Incubator, and by other dApp developers. think of a decentralized, I'm not going to name any social media platforms, but a decentralized social media platform where the rules are baked into the contract, and like you can get like, okay, give me the 5 last messages. You can query the database on every node, and it's super efficient. The efficiency of those queries is what's so cool about the system. We used a well, I'm not going to go technical, but it's very like new. Like the technology, the research papers that inspired everything are less than 10 years old, and for cryptography, that's really new.
Yeah, of course.
Is everyone else here building stuff on top of Evo in 2023?
Well, I can't build anything.
Well, the marketing hub. Are you guys going to be using Evo for?
I'll use anything and everything.
Ryan, what about you?
The incubator will definitely be building on Evo, on Dash platform. The only question is, what are we going to be building, and will we find some kind of product market fit, or what will be the product market fit? I have a gut feeling that decentralized storage on a blockchain network is a good thing, but it's still yet to be seen what kinds of things need to be built on this. I suspect that some apps will probably be a hybrid, where some of this more sensitive data will be stored on Dash platform, and then most of the data will be stored traditionally on small like subsets of servers, whether that's on their own servers, or I don't know, maybe even I would like to see some kind of evolution of Dash platform to where we could provide execution on a small subset of computers instead of the whole network, to reduce costs and increase convenience for things like that. So and not just have like Solidity EVM kind of virtual machines, but have other virtual machines like a JavaScript virtual machine. I think would be awesome to have Dash platforms serve that use case just as a convenience rather than a smart contract thing. So, but that's, I see Sam's kind of smiling about that. So I'm not sure what he thinks about that.
You said a word that I hate.
JavaScript, I know.
I'm melting.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's really easy and fun to poke fun of JavaScript, but JavaScript runs the world basically. So and Web 2 does as well. So I think that we kind of get into this Web 3 mindset, and we think that we're the future, but we've got a long ways to go before we provide the utility that Web 2 has provided, and JavaScript.
I was just thinking in my head, like, ChatGPT has entered the chat. All the AI is in Python, I think.
Yeah. Why don't we give a
what
shout
about
out?
CrowdNode? Are you guys building on Evo as well?
There we go. Good time to switch over to the CrowdNode.
So I don't think we'll be building any dApps. At least we don't have any on the roadmap. But obviously we'll implement, or at least that's a plan to implement support for Dash Pay and usernames. And I loved what Sam said, that it will be hopefully evolving into a more merchant-friendly version. So befriending our members doesn't have to involve exchanging 1,000+ addresses and managing that circus. But let's see where that takes us, right? And as for Evo and the whole 4K, I think it's a low-hanging fruit for us to go about supporting the 4K nodes in a trustless setup rather than building a dApp right now. but I'm not ruling anything out. But that's at least what we do have on the roadmap or plan for 23.
Yeah, so I have a question about the trustless nodes and stuff like that. First of all, well, let me start with like an easier question thing, because there's always a hard one, right? But so I noticed someone mentioned the other day that All Nodes is a node provider that most of, like, a good chunk of masternodes use because it's cheap, it's whatever, it's all that kind of stuff. And mentioning that's like maybe a centralization vector or something. Is there ever a possibility that CrowdNode would offer regular masternode services for people who have their own 1000 Dash, but they just want to both use the voting platform, which is nice and easy compared to, you know, other voting methods, and they could delegate their vote in case they're too busy to vote or whatever it is, and just have CrowdNode actually run the node part of their service and charge a fee for that, but not actually do anything with their funds.
And that was the easy question. No, so so when we launched CrowdNode 4 years ago, I managed the masternodes. We did that in a way to sort of decentralize the network. We decided to go for Windows, and we decided to go with Azure, and that's just a nightmare these days. The masternodes don't perform as well as they do on a Linux platform, and so that circus just had to stop. I spent so much time on it that I our time was better spent on servicing our members and developing new features. And at that point, I think it's around 2 years ago, we decided to just go with all nodes.
Not only.
But we migrated what we had, and then the new masternodes we started spinning up with Sid, Mr. Splavik, right? But looking at it, with 4K nodes, I do think it's within reach that we'll actually host those ourselves to help the decentralization on the way. But come to your second part of the question, will we ever just offer masternode hosting? I don't think so. There are other players in the market for that, and they're doing a well job there to serve the community. And I think the core of our service is to do the matchmaking of people that don't have enough funds to run a full high performance masternode or a normal masternode, right? So we sort of bridge that gap and focus on doing that and excelling on that. I think is more important than us, broadening our focus to red markets within the Dash community already.
Yeah. So then I guess the hard question, which might end up being an easier one and a paradox there. What can be done? So I've been participating in both the testnet and the mainnet trustless shares setup type stuff. And for someone like me, it's not that bad because I have Dash Core on my computer and I use it frequently. And I know how to use command lines and just copy paste, sign, copy paste, sign. It's easy. For average crypto people, very much not so. And
True.
That's all right for now. So what are the prospects or possibilities for adding trustless shares on mobile? And like what needs to be done for that to happen, and and this is, I know, like Sam's just like going with like, listen, do what Pasta says. Pasta has the right idea for trustless shares at the protocol level. That being said, just on you guys' side, I wonder what would have to happen for the mobile wallet to actually take care of all that stuff. Like, obviously you'd have to implement like a signing feature. I wonder if there's a way of adding some kind of like a push button signing feature as opposed to a copy paste signing feature and such. Sam, are you itching to try to answer this, or do you want them to go first?
Undecided.
All right.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during 22 we launched the normal API. Let's call it that. That allowed Brian Foster, the mobile team, to to develop an integration in wallet, allowing for what Mark Mason dubbed swipe to stake, but ended up being more a click to stake solution, right? And thanks Brian for doing that, and also for Mark to actually build the bridge between us and the mobile team. But obviously the next step would be to, and I've already started on that actually, but to expand the API to also support all the signing messages and the pledging process. That will subsequently allow a one-click trustless staking, and maybe even fully automating it and implementing it into at least the Dash Core mobile, Android, eventually hopefully also the iOS wallet, Sam. That would be convenient for our members and future members and everyone, because Joel, as you said, it's really not the trustless today is not a grandpa every user solution, right? You really have to be a bit crypto savvy, at least to understand what's going on. I know many can just copy paste it and just look at it. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I trust CrowdNode, which is really not what we want after what we've seen lately in 2022, right? We also want people to actually trust it and understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But
did
if
CrowdNode
not,
user
then,
funds go to pay SBF's bail? No, definitely not.
But honestly, if we can't teach them the details, right? You would want it to be as convenient as possible, and that's a wallet integration where everything happens fully automated behind the scenes, right? So I think that's an obvious next step as well, is to expand the API to support trustless.
So
also the point that we talked about internally, which is that I think we were actually a little bit surprised how much extra money landed, or Dash landed on CrowdNode as a consequence, we believe, of the Android wallet integration. I don't know what we thought, but we definitely thought it would be less than what turned out to be the case. Andreas probably has a graphic we can pull up at some point if you want to see it visually. But it's been very positive for the total Dash on the platform. But I think our and so far, to be fair, we've only been launched for less than 2 weeks. But so far it hasn't been sort of a huge inrush of Dash coming onto the trustless platform. And my initial anticipation, at least, was that it would be the other way around. That maybe a lot of people would deposit small amounts or small-ish amounts via the API or via the Android wallet integration, and a lot of people who say, we actually want to use CrowdNode, but we don't actually think that the risk reward makes sense in the trusted setup, which is what we had until very recently. But with the trustless setup, the risk, if you know what you're doing with your own private key, is not there as well. There is a little bit of risk while it's being spun up, but once it's operating, there's no risk, right? At least you don't have to trust us to be competent. And I think so. I would have expected sort of the other way around. And I think what the lesson from that, maybe it's a little bit too soon to judge on the trustless stuff, is that it really is convenience and user experiences not to be underestimated. Even though the trustless thing is arguably a better feature, it's also way more hassle. And that at the end of the day ends up being more important.
And I do have Marshall. You want to go first?
No,
or, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's a great corollary for all of crypto, isn't it? It's a better money system, but the ease of use and the ease of access, because of how deeply it's integrated into everything everyone does today, it is hard to get people to transition. And I would just say, for one, I'm on your trusted integration with the wallet because of that, because it's so simple. So I'm just as guilty as anyone else of just doing what was easy for me to get it set up and not even think about it. I mean, it was such a slick user interface. I didn't have any real questions after I gave you guys a little bit of comments and questions on the first round, but you guys have made it really simple for anyone to understand. And so great work on it. And I will keep using it until you have the trustless integrated on my phone in the wallet, and then I'll switch over.
Better not lose his money.
yeah, please.
I have some personal survivor's guilt on that, as being probably the last person to get his money off of Moo's platform before that whole thing ended up going bad. It was like the last I ask and I get it back instantly person. Everyone else is just like, oh no.
Oh,
But
wow.
did he make everybody whole in the end?
I think
I
so.
have no idea.
I think so. Over the next few months to year or whatever, people got theirs back slowly, like whenever they got his attention. And then the last I heard is a group of the remaining ones actually like got a lawyer and like threatened to sue him, and then they got the rest back.
Yeah,
So
I,
that's
I'm
what I
not
heard.
so sure. What,
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
If you know, you know. If
yeah,
not, I'm not getting into it on this podcast. It's a happy occasion.
yeah. So I have a question. I'm sorry, I've been so busy. I have not spent so much time looking at the tech of the trustless masternode setup that you guys have. But what, we in DCG had worked on trustless masternodes, and actually we have work going on right now for trustless masternodes at the protocol level that might really help you guys when it comes out. The one thing that I don't know how you solve, and maybe you did solve, is how do you solve like when it's trustless? Do people lock in for a certain amount of time, or can anybody that put into the trustless basically break the masternode?
So we have basically the way we handle it is that we give everybody two separate redeem transactions. One which is time locked, and is exactly as you described, that everybody's locked in for a certain time. At launch, we set it to 90 days, but in principle, depending on popular demand, that can be scaled up or down or whatever. And of course, after the time lock period expires, that doesn't mean that it's immediately taken down, but then anybody can take it down, right? Which is an inconvenience for the rest, because hopefully or presumably they would then have to join a new pool and a new trustless masternode. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the solution is that what if you commit your funds for 90 days or a year or 2 years, whatever, and then you have some kind of emergency, you need the money right now. How to deal with that situation? And the way we chose to handle it was that every participant in a trustless pool gets his or her own personalized redeem transaction that doesn't have a time lock, but it does have a penalty in that you don't get all of your Dash back. I think it's like 5 Dash that you basically forfeit to the rest of the members of the pool. Right?
2.5.
2.5, sorry, we've choose different numbers. 2.5 that you forfeit, but then you can use it anytime, right? And so that's the compromise that we have right now, basically, to discourage people from breaking the pool too soon, but on the other hand, making it possible to do so. And if somebody else in your pool breaks the pool ahead of time, you get a little sort of a little extra reward for that in the form of the Dash that was forfeit. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's really good. It's good that you guys did such an elegant solution like that. There is, in DCG, in the core team, there is somebody currently working on a protocol level improvement to trustless masternodes. So it will allow you to basically have multiple transactions that kind of get pooled together, and people can swap out transactions. So basically, if somebody puts 100 Dash in the system, if they can find somebody else who puts in 100 Dash, I'm guessing you guys could be the interface for that. You can do it without the masternode ever going down or anything like that. So improvements to come on that.
Fantastic.
That's currently being worked on. So that is already started.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing us just transitioning into the matchmaking party of everything going on, right? What we've built here is actually based on Pastor's, I don't know, he may have conceived this idea 2 years ago or something like that, right?
Yes.
I talked to him, and he had some ideas. I tried to draw it up, and end of day, we managed to build a solution based on his initial ideas, although cumbersome, but working, right? So any means to make this more user friendly will obviously adopt to that. Also, if you were to go above the roughly 16 participants, I think there's a broad support in the community to suffer a performance hit to go higher. I know there's drawbacks to doing that, but that's just something that we've heard frequently, and I'm sure you have too, Sam. But at least the possibility to interchange a participant of a node, seamlessly, would obviously benefit everyone.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
In the trustless system that you guys have, what is the minimum amount that you
100 right now? Yeah.
And that's exactly what we were either going for 100 or 200. I forget what the paper says.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
We started with 200, and I was an advocate for that. And then, by popular demand, we put it down to 100.
Yeah.
The basic problem is that the number of signatures and everything going around just scales in an unfortunate way with the number of users. So this whole copy-paste signing, I mean, again, this is a problem that if we can do sort of a single-click thing where it's integrated into something like the Android wallet or the iOS wallet or even the Electrum wallet, something like that is revived, I don't know. But if there is some seamless way that you can just click OK and then it happens behind the scenes, then it would be the only real limit would be the multisig. Sort of the protocol multisig number limit, which I believe is 16, right? So we could presumably lower it a little bit more. But then again, if we have to do this for 4,000 Dash platform nodes, then it goes up, right? I mean, 4,000 divided by 16, that's still quite a lot.
Oh, for the 4,000, it was going to be different. It was going to be the shares were going to be 1,000 each.
Oh yeah, well there you go. So. The other thing, just again, not to be too technical, but one thing for the regular masternodes that we have on CrowdNode, we always use the procedure of running the ProTX register prepare, and then the signature, and then the submit commands. However, for the trustless ones, we have to use the register fund command. Which we weren't really aware of this distinction when we started tinkering with this whole thing, and I think we had, again, I think it was past the communication. Oh, why don't you just use the submit fund command? And we hadn't used that. So I mean, there's the technicality when you come to implementing it, especially also now for the now we have it figured out for the
regular. Because you have one transaction.
Exactly, yeah. We have sort of one TX ID that it has to be based on. And that's sort of the output of the whole multisig exercise. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It works.
That's very, very, very cool.
Yeah. So I have one final CrowdNode question, which is a little open-ended. But what else can you guys work on? And the reason I say that is obviously I like stuff. I like the quality of you guys' work so far. I like the user experience delivered, and most rare, especially in Dash, I like the timeline at which you're able to deliver features and things. And I think that's kind of like a Dash unicorn. And I understand it's a much more focused. It's not like Sam has to reinvent all the wheels, right? I understand it's a little bit of a different. Yeah, but you guys move like. Basically, what other projects can we throw money at you to work on and deliver?
And was that?
Well, that's actually a good question. So, do you want us to start earning money for diff implicitly, all of you guys, or do you want us to be innovative, or what do you want us to do? But yeah, because the reason we got funded was, I think. Part of the motivation of actually getting the funding for 2022 that allowed me to work a lot on the CrowdNode features, which basically accelerated the project significantly from something that I think most of us considered a fun time, a hobby, to the next level, right? I've we've done a lot of significant releases throughout the year, and it's been fun, and it's been long nights, and and I recognize starting working at something 20 p.m. and 9 a.m. in the morning being done, all that, Sam. I love that too. Not too many days in a row, but I do love that too. So it's been a fun year, amazing year, right? But part of the deal was, that we signed over 12% equity to Diff, and that's in process right now. So the funding allowed me to focus on CrowdNode, and the guys chipped in also more than prior. Right now we don't have that, luxury to get that cadence, but we could definitely mobilize again. Although I don't think the timing is right. Right now we do see, potentially DCG. I personally prefer DCG getting the rest of the, you could say, supplementary funding that's out there, instead of CrowdNode putting out a proposal and rocking the boat too much, because platform is more important than what we do, at least on a short term, right? But let's look half a year ahead. We could, expand what CrowdNode is doing onto other coins. There's obvious derivatives of Dash that we could basically copy paste onto, right? We could also start. I aired at some point that we would look at running the largest Thorchain liquidity pool to avoid too much slippage and to ensure the highest benefit from pooling into Thorchain. And if you could balance that on CrowdNode, I put 40% of my equity that's under management on CrowdNode into Thorchain, and the rest into masternodes. There's many ideas, but I'm not sure which ones I would prefer to cater to myself. But definitely lots of opportunities that might either benefit the Dash community and benefit Dash, and hopefully drive an S-curve in 2025, or maybe just benefit that CrowdNode makes money, and then in turn through the equity share stake with Diff earns everyone money. We're basically open to anything, I think, but we do have some ideas on what we could put on the table.
Yeah, so let me just give some of my opinions real quick, and unfortunately, as much as people don't like them, but so CrowdNode, obviously, is like the one-click staking solution for Dash, and obviously the trustless staking is quite a few clicks. In fact, I did actually sign a couple transactions while on this very podcast. I'll say that, but so really quick to break down people who haven't been aware. So I'm very bullish on Thorchain and projects similar to that. And Thorchain basically is an automated market maker and decentralized cross-chain exchange protocol. Basically, you could swap any coin for any other that's supported without wrapping assets or anything like that. Just like you throw Dash in, you get Litecoin out or whatever. So in and by the way, I've actually done some of this with Thorchain. Like, all that's required to do is you send a transaction to one of the pools with a message, and it automatically does that. They has some hacks, so you can deposit liquidity by just sending transaction even without a memo, just a raw transaction into a specific address. And the way it withdraws, send a certain dust amount from the same address back into the pool, and it automatically spits your balance back out to you. It's really kind of cool the way it works. But so Dash has been trying to be on January of last year, right, of 2021. Thorchain started talking about Dash. Then Thorchain kind of semi-launched and then launched its stuff, and had been talking about Dash the whole time through. The incubator did the entire integration. The investment foundation bought $100,000 worth of Rune, probably at the top, but still $100,000's $100,000. And then basically last couple months, there's been a little bit more cold feet from Thorchain. they do still say, well, yeah, but we'll add these other chains first, and then you guys. Let's hope Dash gets on there. Okay, I'm not going to belabor the point more. There is a fork of Thorchain called the Maya protocol that's going to be launching. I think it's ready to launch, but they decided not to launch over the holidays because of the lack of attention. And so hopefully next month, the Maya protocol is going to launch, which is kind of like the Litecoin of Thorchain. And a few little differences, but one of the things is they're removing a few chains that Thorchain supports, and they're trying to support Dash soon, like within a couple months or whatever. So if either of these things add Dash, there's an option to have another like trustless staking option in there. So funny enough, with the trades, with a lot of these, this is where I'm starting to see the DeFi ecosystem really accelerate. Where before it's like, oh, you got Uniswap, you got like all your little Ethereum tokens you do here, and then you got Pancake Swap over here, you got all this stuff. There's the aggregators are starting to get really kind of cool to the point where if you had Thorchain and Maya integrated, for example, the aggregator could decide which one you're going to use based on slippage, or split the transaction automatically into two different, one on Thorchain, one on Maya, just to minimize slippage because of like the liquidity and stuff. So there's like a bunch of interesting stuff there. All that to say, I'm sorry for the big long-winded explanation for people who haven't been keeping up with those, but I think it could be really great for CrowdNode in next year, again, assuming these integrations, right? Assuming that first, to add like to become like a staking aggregator where it says earn 7.9% APY here, or this on Maya, or this on Thorchain, and then you just choose whichever one you want, and then all of a sudden you can do that. And if you want to expand like as a business type thing, maybe the APY machine is a good business model for just outside of Dash, like other coins, like earn this much on your Bitcoin Cash, earn this much on your Cosmos, earn whatever, and just basically like it finds the most profitable way for you to like earn yield on your money in like a relatively like stable, safe way, not through this degen stuff, right? But through like some basic liquidity providing and staking kind of stuff. So anyway, that's just an idea.
Yeah, no rehypothecation. That's like rule number one. I think if you didn't know that prior to 22, you know it now, right? Yeah, that's a fine idea, Sam. Sorry.
Call me Sam if you
Joel.
want. It's a compliment to call me Sam right now.
No, don't say this. Yeah, but that's a fine idea. You could say another, keeping it simple, staying loyal to what we do already now, and increasing convenience is an obvious one as well, right? Get integrated into more wallets, other wallets than just the Dash Android. Potentially even multi-currency wallets, where if we get integrated into some of the bigger ones, we might even see sort of a spillover from other coins that suddenly find out that, oh, there's Dash. We haven't heard of them for quite some time. Oh, Darkcoin. Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I should try them out again. And then we sort of get a spillover effect just by being in some of the multi-currency wallets. But yeah.
Well, a great start to that might be Edge. I did mention that to Paul, and he didn't answer. I was like, hey, you should integrate CrowdNode. I have a feeling he might not want to do custodial staking. So if there's like an easy, like one-click way of like converting it to trustless or something, I think that would really open up stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely, it should be in every wallet.
Exactly the key, because nobody wants to stake their reputation on some third party that may end up blowing up, right?
Yeah,
and I totally understand that. I wouldn't do that either if it were me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it almost has to be trustless, or at least trust minimized for that kind of thing to be a good sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And I would just comment, Edge did just launch some DeFi staking protocol integrations that are all trustless, right? So I think
was that Thorchain? I knew Thorchain was one of them.
They did launch Thorchain. They also launched, I believe, something with AVAX, and I think there's another one maybe coming, or maybe I use a beta version, so I'm not sure if it's on the public version yet. So there's quite a bit coming there, but Edge is a fantastic wallet. They're a great supporter of Dash, and they have many users who maybe aren't as exposed to Dash yet, right? And so by offering that service through there, it could be very appealing for people who maybe have a bunch of Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever type of tokens on there that might want to earn some money with a truly decentralized protocol. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Joel was kind enough to introduce us to Edge, and I'm sure between Joel and I, we could definitely kind of make the case for you guys to have those conversations at least.
Yeah, largely not. Largely when we have like the trustless thing. I do know that I've been also trying to get them to implement CoinJoin into the wallet, and it's like a no, basically. It's like the user experience is too crappy. We don't want to do it. Like, not for that. I'm sure they would do it I'm not even sure they would do it, but maybe they do it for a more prominent coin. But like, that is what it is.
He'll definitely push on user experience, but from looking and using CrowdNode, if the trustless experience can be similar to what you have right now in the Dash wallet, I think it's a no-brainer for anybody, not just for Edge, but for anybody. So yeah, if you guys are interested in other specific wallet introductions that support Dash, that might be a good fit for you, let me know. Be happy to make those intros.
Sounds good. Well, do you want to turn over to the incubator and talk about all the cool, fun, happy stuff you guys have been involved with this year, other than building CrowdNode only for them to get cold feet?
You mean Thorchain?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you mean Thorchain.
I'm sorry. I'm the purveyor of fake news now. I apologize.
Cheers.
Needs to be fact-checked, Joel.
I thought you were drumming up some real drama here. I thought this was going to get real heated.
Listen, I've done that on this podcast before. I think I've grown tired of it. So.
Well, we have been building on CrowdNode, though. That is one of our projects. We're building. We built an SDK, JavaScript SDK. Sorry, Sam, and a CLI. So anybody who doesn't want to go through the sign-in process on the CrowdNode website can use just the JavaScript SDK or the CLI and be able to stake on CrowdNode completely anonymously. So that's one thing we're working on, and we're looking forward to the trustless API. CrowdNode has APIs for signing in and depositing and withdrawing and all that stuff for the trusted part, but like we've talked about, there's also the trustless staking, but we don't have APIs for that yet. So once we do, we'll build a JavaScript SDK and a CLI so that other third-party wallets can integrate. If they're using JavaScript, they can just integrate like a breeze. So that should be. Yeah, that'll be nice. And then we've been focusing on at least. So the incubator, if you don't know already, has there are different roles in the incubator, and so there's developers, and then there's admins, and then there's strategists. And we have 3 strategists right now: myself, Ash, and a guy named SpectreProd. And we're basically, so I don't know 100% what they're focusing on. I do to some degree, but as far as my strategy is concerned, I am working on some low-level tools for transactions and just wallet tools while we're waiting for a platform to get on testnet in a stable way, so that we can start building on that. AJ's been doing some great work there, and then we've been trying to get some of these tools also ported to the browser so that we can have easy solutions for merchant tools and things like that.
Nice. I'll bring up something that I brought up in the Discord the other day about AnyPay. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with AnyPay, but I mean, some people here definitely are. But AnyPay is, I guess, the best reliable point of sale gateway provider, etc., for Dash, definitely, but also for a lot of other coins. And AnyPay has been basically focusing on the API game, and so using stuff for like Ionia, for example, and stuff like that. And as a result, their actual merchant point of sale software, like the actual app that you use at all these places, and their like WooCommerce plugins and all that kind of stuff have kind of become like, semi-abandoned. And so instead they decided to open source that and say, like, if people want to go help work on it, we'll help them too. But it's just that it's not their business model right now. They don't make a lot of money like working hard on like building a piece of software that people don't use. It's just like clients such as Ionia and stuff who actually bring in the revenue from just like using them for, all kinds of stuff. And so in my personal view, I think it'd be fun to have, the incubator or someone else, I guess, start to, maintain these sorts of things and, make sure that they're always there and ready for the Dash experience. Because outside of AnyPay, there's basically a few things like BitPay and Coinbase Commerce and stuff, especially for US users. It's a little bit better in Europe, but there's basically not any good merchant tools to accept Dash in your business in the US outside of like AnyPay. And that includes for e-commerce. There's a couple that I've found since then, but it's surprisingly hard. And
well, Dash.org has a whole page of merchant tools and integrations and third-party businesses that supposedly support Dash. And one of the first reasons that we actually started doing some of this merchant tooling in the incubator itself was because, well, I wanted to see which of those merchant integrations on Dash.org actually worked. And so I had AJ kind of go through that page and I gave him a very open-ended task to say, like, I'm your boss. I want you to integrate Dash payments in our merchant. Go ahead and just use Dash.org and see if you can figure it out. And so he kind of went through that whole process, and it was a little tricky, and we never ended up like testing the actual third-party providers because the dev wanted to actually build some himself because he's just like that, and I think it's great. But I still would like to kind of go through and document the process of integrating with these third-party providers that we already have, and just see what that process is like, and having videos to say, hey, if you're a merchant, you have XYZ options, and these are the 3 videos that show you how to set those up, or however many we have. So it's kind of a shame that we do have several, and AnyPay is one of them, but it's just one of several merchant solutions that we have, and we need to get that documented, like the process a little bit more streamlined so that merchants find an easier job of doing that.
Yeah. You want to speak, Sam?
Nope.
I think Marshall raised
Marshall
his
has
hand.
it up. Oh, sorry.
Marshall, just jump in, buddy.
It
you don't
shows-
have to raise your hand here.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it does show above Sam's head, so I was confused too. I thought he was also wanting to chime in. No, obviously we have a lot of experience with AnyPay, CTX. We've looked at many others, some who no longer support Dash. So I'm really glad we didn't go down that path, like Coin Payments, and there was somebody else this year that stopped accepting Dash. They've been really easy to integrate to if you're a development company, right? So CTX and AnyPay both have very easy to use APIs if you've got a staff of developers, right? But your average, coffee shop, cafe, whatever, apparel store, they don't have developers, right? And so, and you have the challenge of integrating to their point of sale system or giving them a standalone solution, right? And that's where I think both CTX and AnyPay, I think they both have a solution for that, right? It's a web browser-based point of sale to create invoices and receive payment, to a QR
and
code.
AnyPay's in case it's a dedicated app as well.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I think that the move into like supporting APIs rather than focusing on one-on-one merchant sales makes a lot of sense. I'm actually not surprised to hear that there's been a focus on the API support. We may be responsible for some of that, unfortunately. If that was detrimental to you, I apologize. We obviously pushed them to really support us and get the functionality we need. But Ionia has the ability to support merchants. We haven't focused on the same use case there of receiving crypto natively, meaning to a wallet. Obviously, when you pay through our platform, many of our merchants, they're getting paid in USD, right? And we do it in a way that makes it so simple for the merchant. They don't even need to know how you paid, right? Whether you pay with your credit card, pay with ACH, you pay with your crypto wallet, or pay with rewards points. It shouldn't matter to the merchant in any way, shape, or form. And we do have in our roadmap to launch an SMB platform for that this year that doesn't use gift card rails, but a merchant can actually just log into what we call our kiosk. They create invoices there, they receive payment by QR code, and it's instant real-time funding. It's what we call Ionia Pay. We believe it's the first of its kind where the funds go to the merchant in real time, at least the first in the US. So the consumer can have their funds in any crypto wallet, any bank account in the United States. And when they pay, the funds are instantly in the merchant's bank account. So this is very revolutionary on the payments front. And we do plan to, we do support currently crypto for that. So that's, I think, something that we can actually use as an adoption tool. We don't currently have scoped like giving the merchant the option of receiving crypto natively, right? There's no wallet support or anything. It just goes to their bank account. But at least we would be giving the consumer the option to pay with that QR code using our wallet. So that might be like another kind of angle, might be separate from what you were looking for, Joel, if you're wanting the merchants to kind of have exposure to the crypto. But maybe we can partner with somebody to do that, or maybe we'll do that in the future. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, all of the above is good, right? You need more and better and everything. And it's kind of like AnyPay was the only thing that worked, so we kind of leaned on them for a while. And kind of a lot of the value proposition of CTX is it's like our own AnyPay that's better and worked on continuously and don't have to worry about anymore. And then unfortunately CTX has taken kind of a breather for a little while other things were focused on. And having CTX and AnyPay on like the merchant side of things, on the end user side of things, kind of go down. Or I mean, CTX is back up. It was down like 2 days ago. But like as far as like having that unreliability is kind of like leaves no options for Dash. And that's like scary a little bit. Like I don't mind if, obviously growing pains and stuff, but it would be really great to have like at least like 3 solid options for global e-commerce, right? And 3 solid options for a point of sale app, just always. And then that kind of works. And then some of them, AnyPay did their other thing or whatever, they were still there. But until then, it's just like, I know organizations like, so, for example, Free Talk Live was the radio show or whatever where Gavin Andreessen gave the host some Bitcoin back in the day when he was on. Roger Ver heard about Bitcoin on that show, right? Mm-hmm. And that's an outgrowth of the Free State Project, the Free State Project movement. Free State Project also got a few Dash sponsorships that I orchestrated in the 2018, I think. They don't accept Dash for tickets anymore for any of their events or donations or anything, because coin payments moved out of the country. Now they just don't. And I've been scrambling to find a solution that will work for them. I might have found one, but it's like, I wish it's at the point where it's just like the obsolescence of, it's like as all these providers start shifting, eventually start have people who don't have access to be able to use Dash. And it's like, well, I'll just use Litecoin instead. And then it's just like, it's killing me to watch this kind of stuff. So yeah, we need as many of those options out there as possible.
I do
Yeah,
think,
I agree that we definitely need those. I mean, that's what Dash is all about, accepting payments, especially accepting native Dash payments. So the fact that there's not just some easy answer for an expert like you to be able to say, this is what you use, and this is how you use it. That's totally a failure. So like I said in the Discord, I'm not opposed to funding those integrations through the incubator, as long as I don't hear a bunch of crap from other people about it, because there is that potential conflict of, well, why are you supporting this one company through the incubator, and maybe not supporting others? Well, first of all, they're the only ones that have asked so far. So, but we need some kind of solution. So if we can find a developer that wants to work on that, and I did hear from somebody that says that they could work on those plugins and whatnot, I'm happy to fund that through the incubator, because we need those. Like you said, Roger Ver heard about Bitcoin on Free Talk Live. That's actually where I heard about Bitcoin as well, and that's what started my whole journey. So I've got sympathy. My heart goes out to them for that situation, and I want to help make that better. So
Yeah. Quantum, were you trying to say something? I think you're on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I did notice, I went to pay something, I don't remember when, in the last 2 months, and coin payments, I did notice that they didn't take Dash, but when I go to their webpage, they still list that they take Dash.
I think I can address that for you guys here if I can screen share briefly.
Oh, okay.
And they still do, right? I just paid an invoice like 2 days ago with Dash.
Yeah,
through
just
CoinPayments.
not in the U.S. though.
Not in the U.S.
Not in the U.S. All right, that's yeah, okay. Benefits from
Well,
being in the
there's
U.S. Others.
Bitcoin Pay Server does, I think, as well. They have a Dash integration, don't they?
BTC Pay Server. Yeah, although
BTC
that's
server,
running
yeah.
your own infra, like your own server and stuff,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
the coffee shop down the street ain't gonna do.
Yeah.
That
This
makes sense.
is
So
the
like,
announcement I got from them in July of this year.
Do we know why this happened? I mean, if it's specific to the U.S. market.
Yes.
I mean, I'm gonna get.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty evident that U.S. payment, and I've noticed this, by the way. First off, very few, a lot of these point of sale service things, when I'm looking over everywhere, merchant tools, anything, Europe is the hotbed. There's all kinds of stuff in Europe everywhere. There's some stuff in Canada, some stuff in like Australia and stuff, but like Europe is like the big. And there's this, even though in the US there's this giant drop off outside of a couple of like monolithic institutions, such as, Coinbase and BitPay and stuff. And then what I've also noticed is amongst those, Privacy Coin, including Dash, unfortunately, support in the US is just like, it's just down. And so I think what happened with coin payments is because they're like a, in order to turn a profit, they're like a custodial thing where you receive money from the customer, then they send it on to you minus their fee or whatever. And because of that, it makes them have to register as like a money services business or something. And that just becomes really, they just leave the country. They just don't want to deal with it. Whereas something like, for example, AnyPay, because it uses the BIP70 payment protocol, the money goes straight to the customer minus the fee, which goes straight to the payment provider. And that small technicality means they're able to legally operate in the U.S. Although, if it's just open source and stuff, I don't think they, it's harder, like who are you going to arrest? It gets a little bit more tricky with that. But that's kind of the answer to it, which is why we need to take care of the solutions that we do have.
Yeah, I'd say to kind of build on what you said, Joel, to accept coins in the U.S. and pay the business, there is a custodial angle that you can approach that you can take, which is how coin payments did it, or still does it, and that does imply they'll need certain registrations, and all 50 states, getting all 50 state MTLs is like a nightmare, but there are other ways to do it, One is to use the license of somebody who already does support those, already has the MTLs and supports these types of things through API. That would be somebody like Zero Hash or Fireblocks or whatever, which we have a relationship with Zero Hash. The problem with that is none of those companies will process Dash, not because it's a privacy coin actually, but because it doesn't have a bit license. And so they can't get all 50 state registrations, and therefore they just don't support it, right?
Yeah.
So especially if they're going to have any angle around privacy, they can't actually meet their obligations if they don't know where the user is, and they could potentially be in New York using a currency that you can't use in New York. So
Joel, are you talking about with this use case? Are you talking about receiving Dash payments, or are you talking about the merchant receiving US dollars and the customer paying Dash?
This is just receiving Dash payments, which is significantly easier. The next step is tricky. However, what you could do is have you, for example, your AnyPay or whatever payout address as your Coinbase account as the merchant, and then just sell. Or, I mean, Uphold had the automated thing, but I hear bad things about Uphold these days, so I wouldn't, you know.
Ryan, if you could build using like CTX or AnyPay or both, just a user experience for the merchant, just build a really simple point of sale system where they ring up an invoice. I can actually share with you what we have for Ionia Pay, and you could just copy what we've got because it works great. But it's for like enterprise merchants right now. But it would be really simple, and they would just create a QR code that gets scanned by the consumer, and you can use BIP70 or the JSON payment protocol, which I believe both of those are supported, to actually send the payment, and you could actually use the APIs from CTX or AnyPay to actually send the funds to the correct wallet addresses, and you would never be involved in the actual funds flow, right? You'd just be providing the GUI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have tools. We've built tools recently for that. We don't have them appified yet, so they're not really user-friendly kind of tools yet. But that is on the roadmap. But when I look at dash.org /providers and tools, I see a lot. I see BTC Pay server. I see coin payments. I see ElectroPay. I see e-payments. Salamantec, Spark, Coins Paid, Anchor Pay, Bloom, Now Payments, Flexa, Coin Remitter. It just keeps going.
So
Rocket Fuel, Edge.
Let me give some commentary.
Are you saying that you haven't been successful with any of these, or?
Pretty much, yes. So going down the list, I mean, there are very few, because I did go down this list recently. So BTC Pay server is like an open source thing you got to run on yourself. So you can use it, but like whatever. Coin payments, not in the U.S. ElectroPay, I don't even know if they're. I mean, if you go to their website, it's like coming soon. It's like it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if none of these work.
Yes.
But I guess we got to update our page here.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a bounty for the Dash Marketing Hub to update DCG's website and stuff. So if you want to do that, e-payments, I talked to them a little bit. I don't know if they're really like operational or something. Salamantec, of course, works, but they don't operate in the U.S. Spark hasn't probably been maintained in years, so I wouldn't, go with that. I don't know if Coins Pay works. Anchor Pay, I think they're defunct. I checked them out like a few months ago. I don't know about Bloom. Now Payments does not work in the U.S. Flexa is kind of like okay, this is the most shit I'm going to talk on this, but it's kind of like a shitty DashDirect sort of thing. And they are only right now. They talked about a bunch of integrations like into the Dash wallet and into the Clover point of sale system, which is pretty popular in the U.S. And right now they're only through the Spedden app, where instead of like where you buy a gift card, it's basically limited Ionia, except when you buy a gift card, instead of you buy it right there, you have to pre-deposit money that you can never get back, and then kind of like buy it from there.
Joel, I'm going to have to pile on the shit talk just for a second.
Yes, go for it.
I'm going to let everyone take what they want from this.
Talk crap about your competitors if you want.
One of the founders at Flexa was the CTO at a company who tried to acquire us. We shared under an NDA some of what we were building for supporting cryptocurrency. He left there and started Flexa. Now, I'm not going to say that there was anything necessarily inappropriate or untoward. It's possible that he had these ideas prior to those conversations, and therefore the NDA doesn't cover it. But bottom line is the timing looked pretty untoward.
Suspicious.
So very suspicious. Yes.
Well,
but look, you pointed out just a couple of the limitations of it, but they've done a really great job in some other areas with building like a network where the merchants are more directly participating in it rather than just using the gift cards. They actually have some involvement in it. I think that hurts their adoption model, but for the merchants. But I think they have helped move some merchants towards like direct crypto acceptance in a way. So there are some good things they're doing for the community. But I'll just let you guys speculate about the rest of that.
Also, they were going to be integrated into the Dash wallet. That was kind of an idea. But according to Ernesto, like a week or so ago, he said that's indefinitely on hold for now because they're getting sued by the SEC over their token. So they have their own problems. So that's Flexa. Coin Remitter, I don't think they do anything in the US. I think I talked to them. Same with Rocket Fuel, seems to be a little bit nascent or whatever. That seems to be a little new. I don't know if they're working. Edge, I don't know why Edge is listed as a payment processing solution when it's more of just like a wallet. I know they do license their backend and stuff. And then Plesio just got added, and I've been experimenting with them this week. And as of today, that's the top recommendation for how to accept Dash online through like WooCommerce and Magento like integrations. I have not tried out myself. I have signed up with them. I will get something on my website to really test it out. But the point is, slim pickings, right? Not Agnew pickings, slim pickings, right? And I'm sure we got a lot of stuff to do. BitLicense, BitPay, Coinbase Commerce should be the absolute priority of non-core protocol stuff. Anything that's not, core and platform, CrowdNode and Ionia for Dash in the next couple years, in my opinion, should be trying to get on those hurdles.
Yeah, I agree. And it would be very interesting to kind of see how with kind of the collective team here as parts of the community that are involved in different projects, how we can all find ways to kind of work together. One that came to mind for me during this call that I never considered before, we are launching Dash rewards. So we built our own wallets that are hosted on our cloud. And we basically use our APIs to hit it and send a request to send Dash to a wallet address. And we're going to use this, for example, for our share and earn program, where you refer users, and then their transactions actually reward you for referring them. That program will be supporting Dash as the payment currency for the reward, and it'll go back to the Dash wallet address provided by the user. I'm wondering if it makes sense to look at things like CrowdNode and say, hey, we could actually have it kind of like your savings tool, and now you're compounding your rewards are now earning you 6.2% interest, right? That'd be pretty cool. So maybe we have a way.
That's awesome.
CrowdNode.
That's a great product.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the last personal thing on my agenda before anyone wraps up with whatever else they want to do, other than just, hey, awesome stuff, looking forward to the new year, good stuff. One thing I noticed that has kind of caused a lot of, I guess, reputational slide on Dash has been, and to a certain extent, like user slide, I suppose, is the privacy aspect, for the opposite reason than we thought during the Ryan Taylor era, which was delist because of privacy coin, okay, whatever. But first off, I have been mixing since day one. Not day one, but since 2016, right? That was my day one. I came to crypto because, in part, of privacy, back when I thought that Bitcoin was private, and meh. And then my initial thing I cared about Dash was I noticed it because of privacy, and I cared enough to get really into it when I heard Evan's talks about evolution. So, I'm in here for a long time. So I use CoinJoin every single week, right? Just all the time, always using it. Only in Dash Core. Electrum had it. I kind of successfully used it on desktop. I sort of used it on mobile. their mobile app is just really clunky, though. First off, the user experience of CoinJoin leaves something to be desired, especially just not having it on mobile. And also, there's like a lot of other, privacy solutions out there that are starting to get a lot more, traction and things like that. And I feel like that's one area that's Dash has fallen behind on a little bit that has not really been addressed much directly, as far as like, oh, I think we can do this, or a few of us are working on that. So, first off, I mean, I don't know, open forum. What do y'all think?
This is like the floor is made of lava question, isn't it?
It's one of them. One of
you
them.
know, yeah, I'm really biased here, but I tend to put the whole privacy aspect in a bucket as, of course we need fungibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's like essential to what we do, right? But it also opens a secondary question: does it have to be in the Dash Core Group provided wallet, which is up for vote right now as a proposal? I even think, right, and it's a totally valid question, because do we in the Dash community, do we want to cater to the institutional capabilities that Dash may offer? Do we want to cater to, and this is me assuming that if we weren't, to the core things branded as a privacy coin, would we be better off? I don't know if it's an obvious yes, but I think, looking at it, there might be a small yes in hindsight, in 2020 hindsight, right? And another aspect of it is, of course, Joe, if you look to Bitcoin, you can still do CoinJoin there, and there's like other ways to create fungibility, or the illusion of fungibility, that we have on Dash as well with CoinJoin, but we don't have the other options on Dash either. But Bitcoin has those, right? So I'm really biased here. I would love us to cater to the ignorance, to the institutional, and see Dash grow more than I would love to see CoinJoin in the core wallet. But I do embrace CoinJoin and at least the concept of fungibility, and we need to have that. But I don't want to, pose any potential cease and desist against, DCG for having it in the core wallet. I'd rather that they distance themselves to it, so Dash Core Group is safe on that concern, right? And that it opens another bucket of things we can discuss, whether if how to keep, awful things away from platform in terms of data, right? But that's a totally different discussion. But I'm really biased here. We need fungibility, but does it have to be in Dash Core Wallet, and with Dash Core Group providing it the capability?
Well, I think we already answered this question, didn't we? Wasn't there a proposal from somebody about this with to the masternode owners, and didn't they get kind of buried in negative votes, like removing private send?
Yeah.
That was the question. Should we remove private send from the core wallet? And the clear answer was no. So I guess I'll let Sam talk about that.
Yeah, and I'm actually extremely happy that that person made that proposal, because it's very clear right now, right? In the sometimes loud voices do not represent the majority, right? We saw that heavily with with CoinJoin. The majority of our network, like I think it got 800 plus votes, wants to keep CoinJoin / private send in our wallets, and the we also going into the high performance masternode, I had no idea that the vote would turn out the way it did. I'm the fact that it ended and there was no need for round two.
You're happy.
Yeah.
So happy. It was no, I got called. I got called quite a few names when I'm just really trying to do the best thing for the network. I need to drink after thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah. So think about It seems like the networks voted pretty clearly that they want to go. I mean, in the core wallet it's a little bit of a nitpick necessarily, but as an integrated feature of Dash, increased privacy over basically what Bitcoin gives seems to be what, what's kind of desired. And it's kind of funny because these days, a lot of ways, people view Litecoin as a more private coin than Dash because of Mimblewimble. And I'm sure there's arguments to be made and all that kind of stuff. But basically, it seems like we're going towards where we decided that we're going to be have extra privacy other than like shit privacy, right? Now the question is, what do we do about it?
Mm-hmm. So I will go into this a little bit deeper and just like kind of remind people, the audience, about why privacy is important. When you buy anything, when you make a transaction, you might be thinking, well, I'm just like buying a subscription to a, what can people buy a subscription to? A magazine, right? Or I'm doing something that's, completely not illegal. But then what happens if you're buying, I don't know, I'm pretty sure like porn site or VR porn or anything like that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you don't want your employers to know that. You don't want anybody to know that. Those are completely legal purchases, at least in 90% of the world. Mm-hmm. So, there is a very important part of privacy. And when you generally make the purchases, not through crypto, but through, a centralized credit card or, some centralized banking system, non-blockchain based, well, nobody knows you're making that payment except, the credit card company, and everybody's kind of okay with that system. Yes, the credit card company can get hacked, but even if it's hacked, that information is generally like only available on dark nets, and even if it is hacked, people just don't think it's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have, like, how do you give such an experience in a decentralized system? And that's very hard. Like, how can you cater to private transactions where, the world does not know about something, but at the same time have, some semblance of, knowing your customer, knowing like where this money came from. And, it might not be enough for governments or anything like that. But think about how it could work in DashPay, where you can literally have it. So you've mixed your funds and then you pay through DashPay. The receiver has a proof of the origin of funds, right? Because it came from an identity. He can prove that there's actually a proof that's generated, but nobody else knows. So if anybody asks that merchant, hey, where did these funds come from? The merchant could then say, oh, I got them from these identities, and that probably would placate. I'm hoping that one day that will be how we resolve the system, right? How we resolve this problem, where we have privacy, but the two people that interact with each other can prove later on, in a somewhat of a know your customer type situation.
Yeah.
And then, it takes time to build all these systems. It takes time to, change like perception. Most people that, I'm going to guess that most politicians, when they hear, a privacy coin, they just think it's for, very illegal purposes. But no, what a lot of people want is not everything that they do, that they pay for, visible. Like, I don't think anybody is happy about is okay with that, except people that are kind of like blockchain literate.
There's like a distinct difference between privacy and anonymity, right? And privacy is a must, but anonymity for governments is definitely not a must, right? So So it's balancing those two things to provide an optimal solution, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I agree with some of what you said, Sam, for sure. I think when it comes to KYC, I have a different opinion there. So one of the biggest hurdles, I think, to adoption of crypto is the KYC. And I don't mean because most people who want to check out crypto for the first time are doing something they want to hide, but rather it's just a big barrier. It's a lot of friction. You don't really understand why you need to do it. And so I think there's other solutions, and not to kind of like, focus on what we do, but I think what has worked for us on the no KYC angle, number one, we do it within the prepaid schemes. So they're already very well regulated within FinCEN. We comply with all of their requirements. But there's another piece to that, which is you can't use it to just transact with anybody, right? We're not talking about P2P transactions. We're not talking about, paying to, shady offshore sites that might sell something that's illegal. Like you can't go to any of our merchants and buy anything illegally. There is an onus on the merchant to verify if they sell alcohol, firearms, other stuff like that is highly regulated, to comply with those regulations. And it's not the transaction that needs to be in compliance there. It's the transaction on the merchant side, not on the processor side, right? So there are different ways to do this, and it really gets complex in the United States in particular. But I think all regions are having to deal with this right now with blockchain technology. It's like, hey, you've got this habit now, I guess, this benefit of being able to look at transactions as a way to investigate crimes that the law enforcement agencies across the world have enjoyed for a couple of decades now, where they can go subpoena your records from your bank and go, oh, well, he was at Subway at this time on this date, and that is that is where some other activity, or near where some other activity we think is involved and happened, and they're using that to help support. But there's nothing illegal about that transaction to Subway, and there's no reason that transaction to Subway needed to be made public. And I'm just picking a brand, but it's just that they've enjoyed the benefit of being able to build circumstantial cases around these other evidentiary pieces of data from financial transactions. So I think when some people hear privacy, they think, oh, it's for illegal activity. When some people hear privacy, they think, well, of course we have privacy. We all live indoors and close the door when we use the restroom and sleep in our own bedrooms, like change our clothes there. Like we all have privacy in our lives in some way, and we all take that for granted. But there's a lot of areas where we've just over the decades given up our rights to privacy because we didn't have an alternative, right? And so by having these alternatives, I think we do have to be very thoughtful about how to, I don't want to use the word appease, but like how to satisfy all of the legal requirements so that we're not a target and we're not used by law enforcement or by law enforcement regulators or by people with nefarious, intentions, right? I can say confidently, nobody has ever used Ionia to do anything illegal because you have to buy from a legitimate merchant. You can't buy from them illegally. So, there are ways to like balance that. I think it's much harder for a decentralized protocol. Your challenge is much harder than mine, Sam, because you don't have those levels of controls there. But I think it's important to note that KYC, in my opinion, is not necessary to comply with laws and regulations. But, and I think it's detrimental to adoption.
Yeah, when I said KYC, I'm sorry, it was a misnomer. It was more like know your identity. So like the way that I think it could more likely work, and these are just rough ideas after me having a little bit to drink, but think of it more like, okay, so you're a merchant, you interacted with somebody who paid you through DashPay, you know who that person is. When you have all that money at the end of the month, you can know all the identities that sent you money, and then you can justify that income. But then at the same time, there's no way for like your example, right? There's no way for a government to say, hey, give me all this guy's transactions, because that just doesn't exist. I mean, there's no way for them to know that unless they actually have your wallet and break it.
Yeah.
But when like maybe down the line, a compromise would be that identities could maybe have like a DApp inside that, like, kind of exchanges information behind the scenes with merchants when the transaction is higher than a certain amount. Just an idea, but at the same time, keep private. Like, the ideal situation is that when you make transactions, the only people that know the transaction is happening is you and the person receiving the funds. Now, and the person receiving the funds needs to agree to receive those funds, right? They need to be your contact in the system.
Well, let's bring it
I think
around.
I just want to make a comment to that, because we Andreas mentioned fungibility, which is of course important, that you don't get sort of A, B, and C rated coins, even though they're officially the same. And then there's this talk about the user, like the private individual that goes about buying stuff and maybe earning crypto or other stuff from God knows what. But there's another aspect. If crypto ever gets serious, the industry will have to use it too. And they also have a need for privacy. I'm pretty sure that companies that do, they don't necessarily want everybody, including their competitors, to be able to know which suppliers they're paying how much money, when, and for what, right? How they never keep their next iPhone secret unless they have total banking secrecy. I mean, they rely, of course, on their banking connections to not disclose things, and the banks will disclose under subpoena, as was mentioned. But it's not a common blockchain that anybody could just log into. And I think this is necessary for crypto to ever be anything.
Yeah, and that kind of comes to the entire point of like, for a while it was like, well, first dark coin, the privacy coin, whatever, and then at some point it became, oh well, now we're in a point where governments are starting to push back against specific cryptos, not just crypto, but specific ones. And then the conversation was like, well, how do we educate them that it's not the same as other things, and how do we, avoid that? Now I think we're swinging to the next era where privacy by default is going to become the industry standard in the next, maybe let's say 10 years. Just my feeling on that, like the ability for, like, because I remember when I was using Bitcoin for day-to-day payments, I had one address, and I thought it was cool. It's like, no one knows who this is. And then at some point, it's so funny how everyone's laughing, because it's true. Like, I didn't know anything. And then at some point, my old blockchain.info wallet or whatever started giving me new addresses, and I got so mad because I didn't know. Like, I like that one better. Why do I need a new one? So, like, I've been through the whole spectrum of things, and I've done some digging on basic, I'm no XKCD, right? But I have done some basic, like, oh, where did this money go, here or there? And there's a ton of stuff you can curate, even when people do stuff like CoinJoin and stuff. Now, if someone's getting around a well-done CoinJoin, they are clearly a professional actor of some kind, right? If they're starting to correlate, well, this big CoinJoin thing on the network at this time versus this time, and let me see, do a timing attack. Let me, like, it's, and I'm not, and personally, I would love to get around to be completely anonymous beyond that. But as far as like the average consumer, they have to have confidence that if they buy a taco from a taco stand, the guy doesn't just put it into blockchainanalytics.com and then just it figures some stuff out, and then they fall home and hit him on the head because they think he has a lot of money, right? It has to be better for the average user to use this on like a large scale. So I guess the question with Dash making more specific, because we got very philosophical there for a moment, is what do we do about it? Do we improve CoinJoin to where just it's faster and more efficient, but otherwise, and then make it like easier to use on mobile and stuff, but otherwise keep everything the same? Do we do that? Do we do that plus add some other magic in there, such as like, stealth addresses and stuff like that, and confidential transactions, so that we can hide those missing bits that are still visible when you use, CoinJoins? Do we do something completely different, like go to a zero knowledge proof thing? And the other thing is, do we not do any of that stuff on the main chain, but now that we have an easily bridged over side chain, platform Jade, for platform credits and stuff. Do we build a much more private solution on there? And with those general questions, I have a specific question. So I've heard some people say that bridging to and out of platform credits could act as a certain kind of a mixer in a certain way. Is that just complete nonsense speculation, or is there some small truth to that, Sam? What do you think?
No, it's true. It's true, but it's not true for the reason you think. Actually, in the mobile wallets, we have we basically mix before pushing money to platform, because if you didn't do that, what would happen is your identity would be linked to all your previous transactions, and that would pretty much be the opposite of privacy. On top of that, like, the whole reason of Dash Pay would not really work anymore, because you could trace back all you could trace back from the contact request to the funds that funded the identity. So the data, your identity is separate from your transactions.
So does that mean that Dash Pay, the mobile wallet, whatever, is going to have CoinJoin implemented into it at launch, or how does that going to work out?
Here's the problem. CoinJoin UX is terrible on mobile without improvements. I'll just say it, right? So it takes it takes a long time. So when you do it just one time to fund your identity, that's acceptable, right? That it's bad UX. We do everything in our power to make it a better UX, but that happening one time is not that bad. But if you're constantly dealing with that, I think it would just be a bad UX for the user in the mobile wallet. Maybe it will be a hidden feature that you can not hidden completely, but maybe you can turn on the feature for users like yourself. The question then becomes is, do we want to improve? There was a lot of research done on improving CoinJoin in the past. We kind of put it on hold for because we just have capacity issues, really. If we focus on everything, we get nothing done. So we have to do one thing after another, or at most two things at a time. So we're kind of in an interesting situation with that, because since our transactions are using ECDSA signatures, and basically the transactions look the same as on Bitcoin, it's hard to say, oh, Dash is doing something bad, when the same thing can be done on the Bitcoin chain, right? But not the same, like on a lower level, right? It can be done through a centralized mixing service on Bitcoin, whereas for us, it's the masternodes that act as a relayer. Not they just a little asterisk. The masternodes never actually hold any coins. They just help the parties to interact with each other. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's a complicated topic, and it's very possible that once we add address support on platform, that and also smart contracts, that maybe another project will want to do it there, to do a better system. There's also, there's also the debate to be had. I'm sure we'll have it next year. Do we want to switch out our old CoinJoin system to something more performant, And I'm not saying a solution that all exists in another project. We have thought of ways to make it a lot better, a lot faster, works very well on mobile. Yeah, just it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, a lot of people, and we do one thing or we do the other.
Of course. Yeah, well, I'm sure we can go deep into the particulars of stuff like that on the after party and stuff. So we're coming up close to 2.5 hours on this stuff. It's pretty crazy. Definitely burning the midnight oil for some of y'all. Let's start to get this thing wrapped up. Any final thoughts or other stuff you want to point out that we haven't already? Anyone?
My only thought is I'm very bullish on Dash in particular. I'm actually bearish on crypto prices for next year for a number of reasons, and I think adoption is going to suffer. The adoption curve won't be doing better in 2023 than it was in 2022. But I do think that what's that?
But 24 and 5.
Yes, 24, 25. I think it'll improve, but I think Dash actually stands to see dramatic improvements in adoption, and I think it's due in large part to those of you who are working to build these features and build the tools that people need for managing finances and managing payments. And so I appreciate all of you and all of your contributions to the community, and not just the community, but personally, I live mostly on Dash today, and that wouldn't be possible without the tools that you guys have made available, and my team as well at Ionia. So really appreciate all of you. And then Joel, you're with my inspiration to do it in the first place. And so yeah, thank you all. I really do appreciate all of you individually.
Nice words. Thanks.
One thing though that we do need to start talking about is after a platform is out, are we doing a big Dash meetup somewhere?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Listen. For let's just do it in the U.S. so it inconveniences
Wait. The payment processors don't work in the U.S.
not until Ryan's team gets on it.
Okay.
And do you know how hard it is for everybody to get to the U.S.?
I mean, it's a plane. Wait, are you guys all on sanctions list or what?
No, it's 28 hours for me to get to even 30 hours.
So is your theory, Sam, that everybody wants to fly 28 hours to you? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. Beautiful beaches.
How could it even be 28 hours? I think you went the wrong direction, or you passed the U.S. once on that trip. I don't even know how that's possible.
Okay, here's what time is it for you right now, Joel?
It is 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, and for me it's 6:30 a.m. So we are literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I can only say Dashtober Festival worked the last time. Why not repeat it, right?
I mean, is Fabio still around to do all this stuff? Because if so, I would absolutely come and do that and help out and help organize a conference and all the other kind of cool stuff. But we'll see. We'll make it happen. Otherwise, always New Hampshire in the fall is very nice. You can run around, spend.
But
crypto.
A lot of people can't really go to the U.S.
Oh.
We can't bring all the
you could tell me
the Russians.
You could tell me about all the lists you're on the after party.
I mean, I can go to the U.S. I'm an American citizen.
But yeah, I do understand. Listen, if it is, we need a lot of the developers, and they're, currently, because of the U.S.-Russia situation, you can't do in the U.S. But the thing is.
Well, no, wait.
Yes.
Just need to correct something. It's not because the U.S.-Russia situation. It's just because, for people that aren't European, and it's not always easy to get a visa, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even before the conflict, it was very hard. We would have been in the same situation.
We'll talk about travel particulars on the after party, which brings me to the after party. Yay! So it's that magical time of day/year where we just do. In this case, it's very much just like this entire podcast, except not recorded, and there's going to be more people coming in and out, and more than just this one beer and 2.5 hours and stuff, and like all that kind of fun stuff. So the way it's super exclusive. First off, you have to DM me on Twitter, Sam's home address if you can find it. And no, just kidding. Don't do that. Now people are going to start looking, seeing if they can find you. Well, based on the trajectory of the sun and this exact thing, those kind of curtains are only sold in one specific part of, Okay, before you start doing all that, anywhere on the Dash Discord or anywhere you can contact me. And if you don't know me well, if you don't know where, you follow me on Twitter or anything, like you don't deserve to be in the after party anyway. So just DM me. Say, hey, where's the after party at? And we'll get you a link. And you get in, and this will last as long as it will. I'll dip out really quick for dinner, but then I'll be back and then chatting with people. So don't forget to stay dashy, y'all. And have a thanks for a fantastic year. I mean, there's been challenges, but I think this has been one of the most bullish years for Dash in a very long time. And very excited to see what next year brings. And cheers, guys. See you in the after party or see you next year. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone.